towards defining what is the formats of the new age. What is the format that can travel between different platforms? What is the format that actually engages the audience in a way that it feels they have some sort of meaningful experience? But I think in order to give it some context, and again, I'm not here to talk about us today, I want to talk about a little bit about the change of content consumption behavior. And nothing is not going to be anything new, by the way. I just want to try to put some spotlight on what I believe personally to be the fundamental change that really changed the entire game for everybody, and how we create content, how we distribute it, and how we monetize it. So not so long ago, that was reality. Every big publisher had their own castle, their own home website, which they drew a lot of attention from the consumers to come in. And obviously the way that it behaved means that content was the king of this castle. And if I'm trying to take this analogy, meaning that it was like a big feast, a big fast, which they invited you to join, spend a lot of time in their castle, and read as much content as possible, leave their talkbacks, and by that, have more time with you. And obviously, the more time you have spending with a consumer, the more opportunity to monetize this time. But today, in the social age, obviously the social network sphere, the way that content consumption is basically being, it's totally different. No one goes to those castles anymore, but it's a little bit more like that. Yeah, everybody's speeding on the social highways. Probably all of you, when they are reading any content, you can find yourself scrolling in mobile devices. It doesn't matter what type of social network you use. 80% of the traffic comes from social. 70% or 80% out of the social is coming from social, or coming from Facebook specifically. So it means that from a castle and a town and somebody who's creating a well-thought experience, content creators becoming hitchhikers with a big sign of "please stop." And I think in that case, it means that anytime you produce content and really think about how the content looks like and behave, most likely that somebody is just gonna speed away and not gonna even put one dime about it. And even if they do, most likely they're gonna spend a little bit of time, and then the very first thing they're gonna do, click on the back button and back to the highway. All right? Now that's reality. It doesn't matter if we like it or not, accept it or not, that's the fact. And the more we go, the more we look at that, this is more of a trend, and it's not just Facebook now. We have Snapchat in the game. We're starting to become more and more of a player in content consumption. We're becoming a place which we can start to see a lot of chatbots and a lot of conversational interfaces that I think are going to be another step forward of how content is traveled in social. And in many ways, it comes up to one question. So, okay, how do we respond to that? What we can do different in order to make sure that this hitchhiking experience could be something that we can actually make benefit out of. So at Acer, we believe in two major things, and I think those things gonna lead us to the future in many ways. First of all, transform the content formats from a monologue experience into dialogue. Meaning, create something that the consumer can actually take active part in it. By the way, this is the interactive part. Can really participate, can say something, can take a stand in the story, can be involved in what is written. And on the other hand, allow the editors, the storytellers, mechanics they can use in order to react to what the user says as well. So suddenly from standstill experience, which is very flat, we can create almost a dialogue that one-on-one, even though the story is just one big event. So to get something that makes sense of it, I try to concentrate on three different things that I believe that are critical for everybody to look at. So as I said, the format, it's starting from understanding that everything has changed, so we need to adjust the new formats that we're using in order to tell our stories. The second part of change, I think, is this distribution, and obviously it's not a new thing, but as I see it, distribution today is not a way to distribute your content, but distribution today is your new home. if you think about it, instead of one big castle now, we have a lot of evangelists, which the evangelist is the stories themselves that can sit in different places, and each one of those stories are our unique castle. And now we need to know how we use those distributed publishing in a way, to create meaningful experiences that the consumer can actually engage with us, and then obviously how we monetize it, how we make money out of it. The last one, I think it's probably the most important as I see it, to start to speak in attention. All the currencies we see today, from viewability, time on sites, or stuff like that, probably going to vanish in the near future. And it's something that not just comes from the publishing side and the content creators, but actually comes from the brand and the marketeers that looking for a way to create stories in digital that can draw attention and eventually drive business. So attention is the future currency of digital content. In many ways, in order to make those speed daters on the feeds really make something which you need to drive the attention. You need to draw the attention. You need to make sure that you actually engage with them when you're telling your story. So eventually, what I believe that will become the most important part of this industry is to measure how much of attention we drew to what we produce. So try to think basics. It's not that complicated in many ways. Think basics, it means produce amazing content. It doesn't matter what are your stories talking about. It doesn't matter if you are a brand, or you are a publisher, or you are a blogger. Try to think how you produce amazing content that's going to be valuable for the consumer. So valuable could be from multiple ways. It could be entertaining, it could be informative, it could be utility, but eventually the content should have something in it. If you're going to play the clickbait game, you're going to lose. You could win in the short run. And I'm talking, by the way, from observing tons of publishers on the last 2 years with hundreds of millions of creative content that produced through our system, and more than 1 billion users that engaged with us in the last 2 years. So we saw what was different. And the difference mainly was in the quality of the content. Most of the time, the ones that produce quality content actually create engagement that eventually produce business results for them. Execute future, it's basically think about, okay, this is my story, like always. I used to tell stories for years, definitely, for example, the Guardians and well-known brands that telling stories for their entire life. So they know how to tell stories. This is their profession. They just need to think how to execute those stories in a future way, in a futuristic way, which is actually today, that are going to fit the new audience that has changed and going to fit the new behavior that have changed. So to give it one case study to try to give it some context of how we saw somebody who executed brilliantly lately is Time Magazine last year produced, actually just now, Person of the Year. They used us as a platform to create interactive content around the story of choosing who's going to be Time Person of the Year, which in many ways I think draw the entire difference. So what they did, they created an article that allowed now the audience to participate in this story and allow the audience to choose and voice in to think who should be Person of the Year and who was the most influenced figure in the media last year. And in many ways what they did afterwards was even more smart than just using interactive format in order to integrate with their audience. But they produced one story at the beginning using interactive formats to make sure that the audience is participating, not just reading now. They had more than 30 million voters across the world, more than 193 countries that actually been participated in the last 2 weeks. And then, this is the interesting part. Then they created 10 follow-up stories out of the participation data. They took the data that comes from their audience and created a new angle about the story. And then they divided this data and tell it in a way that engage the audience surrounding different social feeds. Meaning they took some of the data, for example, how many people voted for Trump and what was the group of people that Trump was with, by the way, Le Pen and Putin, you can assume. And just what they did, they produced videos out of it, they produced video Snapchat filters out of it, they produced Instagram story. So they didn't just create an article, created a story about the topic, and then let it leave. They took one story, make it interactive, took the audience consumer engagement, digested the information, the data out of it using our technology, and then split it into different type of stories and different type of angles that fit to other platforms. And for one story, they reached to more than 70 million page views. For one story, they had more than 3 million social shares. So just to give it a context, 70 million page views for one story, it's like, I would say, equivalent to mid to big publisher monthly usage in bandwidth. So I think by utilizing the new behavior, you're not just surviving, you could actually grow your business. Instead of optimizing, look at the way that the market is now built. You can do paradigm shift, tell your stories, split it differently, think about the follow-ups, think about the interactivity part, think about how you make your audience the center of everything. And then, obviously, utilize the same mechanics to bring advertisers to the stories in order to monetize this type of content. So that was my quick journey about my experience with After in the last 2 years and what I believe this industry is look like and how it folds and where it goes to the future. And I think we have like 3 minutes for questions if somebody has some question.
Question?
Yes.
Can you explain what your platform does?
Yeah, of course. We are providing tools to content creators out there to easily go and create interactive stories like interactive polls, personality tests, video interactive engines, journeys, and many different formats that you can now use in order to embed inside your story natively, that become blend and augmented in a way that now the audience not just read it or share it, they can actually participate in it. Awesome. Cool. Have a nice day. Thank you very much for having me.